anything? Okay, go ahead. Because neither of us can actually read the Quran in the original language, I suggest, as an agnostic, why don't we talk about what I perceive to be your lack of belief in God, and I will tell you why we should believe in God as fundamentally important to our lives. Yeah? It's a really good debate idea.
That's not what the conversation started.
Will you debate that?
No, that's not what the conversation
started with.
No, bro. That's the problem of Muslim speakers here, and also Christian speakers, actually. They do that a lot. When you start getting to an argument, they immediately derail the conversation somewhere else, so they don't have to answer the difficult questions.
You are an agnostic. Why are you an agnostic?
The conversation is not about me, it's about Islam.
It is about you. It's about you and me.
You see, you're derailing the conversation. You're derailing the conversation.
You have said that you're an agnostic.
You're derailing the conversation.
And I'd like to know why you are.
Why don't you answer my questions first, and eventually I will answer you why am I an agnostic.
I'm not agreeing to debate the Quran. I'm here to debate
But that's what I proposed to you, to debate the Quran.
I never accepted it.
So leave. If you don't want to debate the Quran,
but
why
I'm inviting you now to discuss your agnosticism. Why is it you don't believe in God?
I decline. Today is the last day.
What are you afraid of?
Let me just do the declaration real quick.
Why are you afraid?
Wait, I'm not afraid.
Come on then. Let's have a debate.
Okay, wait. I'll be right back.
So this guy won't debate the existence of God, and he's running away. He's dressed in Thor's daughter's headdress, and he won't even debate the existence of God.
Where is he? I'm back.
So, you're going to debate the existence of God, yeah?
Sorry, no, not yet.
Not yet. Well,
sorry guys, I just went to say the guy that he can't use...
I thought you'd run away.
No, man, I told you I'd be back.
So let's debate...
Do I look like Adnan?
Do you look like a Pakistani guy?
No, that's not the point.
You look like Thor's daughter with a headdress. What's her name? What's her name again? Anyway.
You didn't get the joke, did you?
Was it a joke?
Do you know what happened with Adnan lately? He ran away from James like 3 or 4 times.
I don't believe Adnan doesn't run away from anyone.
Oh, you should watch the video. He was Usain Bolt like whoosh.
Will you be serious now and have a proper debate over your agnosticism versus
No, that's not the debate I proposed to you.
I'm not
that is not the debate.
I'm not interested in that.
I want to speak about something as my last speech about Islam.
Well, where are you going after this then?
Huh?
Where are you going after this?
I'll stop talking to Muslims. I'll stop engaging Muslims. If they want to talk to me, fine, I'll talk to them. But I feel like I'm losing my time.
I've already explained to you that it's a waste of time having the debate you're proposing because you're not serious, you're not sincere. Right? Because if
I'm not serious and sincere, you should destroy my argument really easily.
No, it doesn't work like that. That's a non sequitur.
Yeah, of course not. You're using an excuse to not debate something you can't win on.
As an agnostic, you're an agnostic, to debate, to put your cards on the table, have a debate about the most important issue of all, does God exist? And you give me your reasons why you doubt that.
That's not the issue here.
It is
that
the
is
issue
not
here.
the issue.
It's what I'm debating.
God might exist. I'm not trying to debunk the existence of God.
Why do you doubt as an agnostic his existence?
Because it's uncertain if God exists or not. And if he does exist, it's uncertain which God is the real one.
It's almost virtually certain that he exists.
We're not going that way, bro.
We are going that way.
No, I'm not going that way.
Why are you uncertain that he exists? What's the reason?
I'm not going that way because today is the last speech about Islam that I'm going to make. I'm not running away.
Let's have a discussion,
bro,
then.
listen. When I engaged you a while ago, I told you. Wait, stop interrupting just for a second, and I'll let you speak afterwards, okay? I proposed to you, I'm going to speak about contradictions in the Quran, which is what I want to talk about here now. Now, you want to talk about my agnosticism.
I told you I don't want to have that discussion. I'm not interested in that debate.
Well,
and
if you don't want to have that debate, why did you accept it a while ago?
Let me explain to you again. I've already told you twice. For the third time, why I'm not interested. Because if I was to prove to you the Quran had no contradictions, it would make absolutely no difference to you. Well, you said earlier on it wouldn't.
No, it would because it would make Islam more likely to be the real religion in my eyes.
Would you believe the Quran was the word of God?
Well, it wouldn't be enough for me to immediately believe it, but it would increase the likelihood. You know what I mean?
The thing is, I could give you a book. Say I've got my local telephone directory, and it's perfect. There's not a single error in my telephone directory. And I hand it to you.
Bro, you're not listening.
No, you're letting me speak.
Not listening.
Let me finish. If I was to hand to you my perfect book without a single contradiction, would you believe it was the word of God? No, of course not. It doesn't matter to you because you're doing this because of your agenda. You have an agenda because you want it to be the last talk you give, because you've got a serious series of talks. I'm offering you an opportunity to have a real debate, not some kind of play that you're trying to have, about an important subject.
But the play is far more fun.
Well, you see, that's why you got a headdress on. Yeah? You've got to be sincere. Either have a real debate
you see, that's
about
your
God,
problem.
or
You think you're
not.
always being absolutely sincere, when in reality you're just lying to yourself. You're
I'm lying
lying to
to
yourself,
myself.
saying this is certain, when in reality you're not sure of it.
Do you know how, with respect, how silly you are? I mean, you're saying, let me be sincere. And you've got this
Well,
headdress
everybody
on.
keeps calling me the devil's advocate. I decided to just go ahead and make
Well,
the job
exactly.
easier for them.
If you want to have a serious debate about
Oh,
God,
no touchy touchy, bro. No touchy touchy.
no, no,
Huh?
Why is it
Okay, so this is made out of Everfoam. I put two coat
this
hangers,
is now
I
a
bent them,
commercial break.
and
He's now got to sell this.
Okay, they ask me, I'm answering.
How much are you paying for it? How much?
They ask me, I'm
No,
answering.
how much are you selling it for?
Okay. The beginning price
Now,
will
commercial
be
break now.
£200.
£200.
£200.
I'll give you 50 pence.
What?
50 pence?
50 pence?
Yeah.
Sold. No, just kidding.
I'll give you 50 pence.
Just kidding, just kidding, just kidding.
Okay. No, I've offered you a serious debate. Take it or leave it.
You
I
said
know what.
sold on video. It means you must sell.
Yeah, but I don't have the authority to sell things to people.
You said it's sold.
You're right.
Yeah, hi, yeah, salam.
You okay?
Huh?
It's a deal.
Yeah. We're going to say hello.
How does he know the devil exists? How does he know the devil looks like that?
Good friend of yours?
Okay, who wants to talk about contradictions in the Quran? Who here thinks the Quran as a book has no contradictions? It's the perfect word of
Me.
God.
Me.
You think
But I'm
that?
not going to debate it with you because
Why
it makes
not?
no difference to you whether or not it has contradictions
Yeah, it
or
does.
not. But I've already said to you, will you become a Muslim?
I probably
Would
it
you
won't,
believe in
probably
God?
won't be enough for me to become a Muslim.
It
But
would
it
be.
will be enough. No, it won't.
wouldn't be.
But it will be enough for me to reconsider it and to see Islam as more likely than what I thought that it was. You know what I mean?
Let me just tell you something. I've been through this process when I was examining Islam for myself. I got hold of, I think it was 15 or 20 most challenging so-called contradictions I could find on the web.
Yeah.
These websites, yeah? And I went through them all and I said, look, I'm going to be objective and honest here. And are these contradictions? And I honestly thought not a single one of them was conclusively proven to be a contradiction. So I came to that conclusion myself. If you have a list of contradictions, you can simply Google them and find a Muslim response. You can simply do that. It's not a very interesting exercise. Every alleged contradiction has an answer. It's already out there. If you were sincere, you wouldn't be here. You'd be at home Googling the answers.
Okay, if you are insincere, you will find an excuse to every single one of those contradictions, and you will say, "Oh, but the meaning is something different." When the meaning that they're giving is what
But I
we
don't
can read.
I don't see how this exercise is profitable or beneficial to you or me, because there are answers to all of your alleged contradictions. But what you and I need to talk about is why you don't believe in God, and why I think there's overwhelming evidence for the existence of God. And I want to know why you doubt that. That's what
There's overwhelming
that's what interests
evidence
me.
of the existence of
That's
God.
what interests me.
You believe in absolute evidence. That is
I said,
undoubtful.
I said, don't straw man me. I said overwhelming
No,
evidence.
but that's important.
I said
Is your belief
overwhelming.
in God absolute or not?
Do you hear what I'll repeat what I said.
I can hear what you said.
Listen, I said there is
Specify.
overwhelming evidence for the existence of a creator.
Okay.
But I want to know why you doubt that.
Okay. If you believe in overwhelming evidence, I want to know if you are dealing with absolutes. If your faith in God is undoubtful.
What do you mean what's an
Absolute, it means, in this case, it means that you have zero doubt that your God is the real one. Do you have zero doubt about it?
Yes.
You have zero doubt. So it is an absolute.
We can use that word if you want. But my question, which you've not answered, again,
Go ahead.
is that I believe there's overwhelming evidence in the both logically, philosophically, and above all in the universe itself, that there's an intelligent designer who both has brought the universe into existence, sustains it, and continues to keep it in existence.
Okay.
So
And
why
my answer
do
to
you doubt that?
And my answer to that would be that there is overwhelming evidence that nothing, no knowledge is absolute. Because
What do you mean absolute? I don't understand what that means.
Okay, again, no knowledge can be 100% trusted.
I disagree.
You disagree with that?
Let me give you an example. Are all unmarried men bachelors?
No, that's not what I mean. That's
I'll ask you a question.
Okay,
Are
okay.
all
wait,
unmarried men bachelors? I have certainty
No,
that
no,
every
wait,
single
wait.
unmarried man has
Now
ever
you're the
lived
one strawmanning me.
is a bachelor.
Now you're
Right,
the
let me
one
give another example.
strawmanning me.
Is 7 plus 5 equal 12?
No,
Does
listen,
7 plus
bro,
5
bro.
7 plus 5
Let me
equal
give you
12?
one example. Is his coat green?
No, I gave you 2 examples.
Is his coat green?
No, I gave you 2 examples.
Okay, whatever. Is
It's
this
not a
thing
coat.
green?
I don't know.
Is it green? You don't know?
No, I don't.
You don't know if it's green?
No. Can we come back to the examples I gave you? Are you saying that there's some doubt that the proposition 7 plus 5 equals 12 is true or not?
No, logically there is no doubt into
Ah,
it.
but you just said there is no such thing as absolute certainty about anything.
But
I
that's the thing.
refuted
No,
you.
bro, you
Right.
haven't refuted anything.
Right. What's your next point?
Can I say, what he's trying to say is that you can't prove that there's an absolute intelligent design with certainty.
Is that what you're trying to say?
In the same way that you can say 7 plus 5 is 12.
Is that
Okay,
what
bro,
you're
now
saying? Is that what
I
you're
will
saying?
need, I will need a little bit of
Like
space.
for like.
Yes,
He
I will
made
need-
a
I will need-
general
wait,
statement that said there is
That's
no
not
absolute.
actually what I mean, and I'll
That's not what he
explain
said.
now.
He
That's
said
partially
there
what
is
I mean.
no absolute truth or uncertainty about anything. And I would say mathematical truths are absolute, some of them.
Okay,
and
okay,
also,
okay, you've
there
made
are
your
other
point.
truths.
You want me to answer?
I-
You want me to answer your point?
Analytical truths in philosophy.
Bro, do you want me to answer your point?
Sorry?
Do you want me to answer your
Well,
point?
I'm trying to be decent here. He made a good point.
Okay, fair enough.
So
Now I'll
you know,
answer your
cut
point.
me some slack, dude.
No,
So-
I'll get you some slack. Now let's talk about
And how
this.
much will
1
you
plus
charge?
1 equals 2, right? It's a certainty in the world of maths, in the theoretical world of maths. That is what David Hume calls relations of ideas. For example, a triangle has 3 sides. It's a logical certainty, right? Because a triangle, by definition, has 3 sides.
It's absolute knowledge,
Yes,
is it? Right.
but
But then
now-
there's another example. All triangles must be
no, wait.
three-sided.
You promised you wouldn't interrupt.
Okay.
No, don't interrupt. Now the
didn't
problem
promise I
with
wouldn't interrupt,
the
actually.
problem,
I
the
never
problem
made that
with these
promise.
truths, the problem with these truths is that they are restricted to the world of theory, right? Of mathematics. Mathematics was something made by humans to understand the world better. Now let me ask you something. What is the one without an association to an object?
I don't understand what that sentence means.
Okay. If you say 1 plus 1 equals 2, what is the 1 there? It's an imaginary number. It doesn't exist in reality. You are applying the 1 to something. For example, 1 man plus 1 man equals 2 men.
I believe
Right?
numbers have objective existence independent of our minds.
They have objective
I'm a
existence
Platonist.
independent of our minds.
I'm a Platonist when it comes to mathematics. I believe maths is prior to, exists independently of, will always exist separate from human beings. Although we can understand them, I don't think that we invented mathematics. Because the universe itself is predicated on the truthfulness of maths. It exhibits mathematical structure, as physicists will tell you. It's not something we have created. It exists out there, and we have discovered. So when you say it's only a theory, I say, well, you may feel like that, but actually, even before humans existed, there was mathematical structures in the universe, say a
Maths
billion years
is a
ago.
code made to understand reality better, to apply it to reality. That's why we have some equations that don't actually work properly. That's why in quantum mechanics, it's not very compatible with Einstein's relativity theory, even though both are functional when we apply them. They are incompatible in some things. Einstein was wrong about many things in quantum mechanics.
Well, he didn't accept quantum mechanics.
Huh?
He didn't accept quantum
Yeah, he
mechanics.
didn't
so
accept
he was
it.
obviously wrong about indeed.
But he was wrong
So
about it.
can I reflect on what you said? I believe you said that there is no absolute truths, absolute knowledge. Is that right?
Yeah, in theory there are
Okay.
absolute truths,
Well,
but in
there
theory,
are
the application
okay, hang
of
on a
theories to real life, that's the uncertain
right.
thing.
I say, and this is why I follow Kant. If we're talking, you mentioned David Hume, I mentioned Immanuel Kant. Do you know much about philosophy? I don't want to.
Well, I do.
patronise
The
you.
ideology I'm
Have you read
talking
Kant?
about
Are you-
is about David Hume. It's David
Are
Hume's
you
ideology.
familiar with the philosophy of Kant, the critic of
Kant?
pure reason? Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Are you familiar with that? I said.
Somewhat. I'm more
Okay,
familiar
no,
with
that's fine.
David
I
Hume.
don't want to patronise you by saying things that just don't. Okay.
Whatever, go ahead.
The reason I mention that is because he talked about, and this is obviously very technical, he talked about synthetic a priori truths.
A priori and a posteriori.
No, synthetic a priori, not just a priori and a posteriori, but synthetic a priori truths. In the Critic of Pure Reason, he talks about there are necessary truths of mathematics, so 5 plus 7 equals 12 necessarily. There are analytical truths, which are true by definition. So all unmarried men are bachelors. All triangles have 3 sides. So another mathematics. These are
logical
these
truths.
Are,
Yeah.
but they're also what he calls synthetic a priori. These are truths that are known independently of our experience, which are necessarily true. And he talks about the categories, as he calls them in English. And these are the preconditions of our experience of anything. So he talks about space and time and motion and so on. And he says these are necessary before we even think about mathematics or other kinds of truths. So we can't even begin to have any thoughts about reality without these truths being true or in existence. So I would throw that into the mix as well. There are necessary truths of mathematics. There are analytical truths, tautological truths, all are Marian bachelors, and there are synthetic a priori truths, which are truths of the world around us, and which are necessary for us to make any statements about reality at all. It has to be space, time, motion, extension, and so on. There are 12 categories, which I think is pretty cool thing for him to say. Okay. So I think we can. He would say we can expand this list of absolute truths, if you like, to use that language, to include space, time, motion, and so on.
That's
and so
more
forth.
debatable. But let me tell you something.
It is,
Do you know Euclidean
over,
and non-Euclidean geometry? Do you know the difference between the two?
Most philosophers have accepted that the points he made are very good points.
Who, Kant? You're still talking about Kant?
Western philosophers since Kant have said that he makes some excellent point. I think so. Coming back to the existence of God, Kant.
No, let's not come back to that just yet.
Well, no,
because I want to give you the example of
Euclidean
Euclidean geometry and non-Euclidean
Kant was
geometry.
not an atheist. He believed God exists, and in his subsequent work, he outlined reasons why he thought God existed. This is probably the greatest philosopher of the West after Plato. Are you familiar with his arguments about why God exists?
Who, Plato or Kant?
Kant.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you familiar with his arguments about
No, go ahead. It doesn't matter if I'm familiar or not.
So, So I'd like to talk about why God exists, the excellent reasons why. One of the reasons that impresses me most is that the universe looks designed. It has the appearance of an intelligent creator. And let me give you an example. When biologists look at living organisms, even at the most minuscule level, they find what looks like a highly engineered, highly complex
That's the watchmaker
mechanisms.
fallacy.
It's
Just
not a
because
fallacy.
something is complicated doesn't mean it was made by an intelligent
I haven't
being.
finished. It's not a fallacy.
Yes, it is a
designer
fallacy.
the
It's one of
designer
the
needs
most
more
important
design.
fallacies.
It's not a fallacy. Let me
It
finish.
is a fallacy.
It's a
Look it
fallacy.
up.
Okay.
If you don't know fallacies, don't commit them.
It's not a fallacy.
It is a fallacy.
You can't just say it's a fallacy. That is not an argument.
Well,
that is
yes,
not
I can.
an argument.
Yes, I can
Here's
say
ways
it
of-
because it's a false conclusion
It's not an
based
argument.
on a premise
not a-
that has nothing to do
Let me-
with
But
it.
let him finish, then we'll come to
Okay,
you.
go ahead.
Well, you're
Because you're
pouncing
right.
on me. All you're saying is this is wrong. You're not giving any reasons why.
He'll explain
you
in a
can't
minute.
just say it's wrong and then expect me to go, hands up, all right, I walk away, you want.
Bro, it's a
So
fallacy.
you've got to give an argument.
So
Right.
allow
I'll
me
give
to
you
give
an
an
argument.
argument.
Okay, I'll let him give the
no,
argument.
no.
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll let him
finished.
explain.
I haven't
He knows
finished.
what I'm talking about.
But you wanted an argument.
I haven't finished.
Okay, continue
And I want an
then.
argument from him, not you.
Fine.
He passed it to me.
No, I
Well,
don't care. I want an
you were
argument.
answering the other
I
guy's
want an
question a
argument from
while
him,
ago.
not you. Which
let
part
him
of
carry
him,
on.
not you?
Carry on. Carry on. Calm
It's
down.
not-
Just
you
carry
haven't
on.
let me finish. What you've done is you cut my argument in half. You've not let me finish it, and you said lots of bad names about it. This is not an argument.
carry on.
This is
It's
a
a
Yahoo
fallacy.
scenario.
That's what he
carry on
did.
with the
That's
point.
what he did. But move on.
I'm trying to, but you two keep on stopping me.
You
Go
said it's a
ahead, go ahead.
Sorry,
so
go
it's a
ahead.
perfect
So,
Let
design.
him finish, let him finish.
I said what?
It's a perfect design.
No, I didn't say, but no, again, that's a slight straw man. I never said perfect
So
design.
stuff looks complicated. It has
said it
to
was
be
all
designed.
No, I didn't
Wait, guys. Just let him finish because
There's
he'll
all
keep
three of you.
stopping the conversation.
I thought I was genuinely helping him.
You're not helping me. I'm talking to him, not yourself.
I genuinely hoped I was helping you.
Don't do anything. He'll use it as an excuse to not
I'm not
answer.
using an excuse. In a debate with someone, I'm not expecting other people to then take over. That's not what I
Okay,
agreed
go
to.
ahead.
So,
I'm giving you time.
when something exhibits all the facets of intelligent designer, for example, my wonderful iPhone,
Or your watch.
if this was to be found on the beach randomly,
I love the
we would not, and I do recommend iPhones rather than any other brands.
Samsung.
No, we don't mention that word here.
Okay, that's another argument.
This is a very important argument, actually. This is clearly designed. We know it is. We open it up. We can see complexity. We can see. We can work out perhaps it has a function, what its functionality is, what its purpose is. This is clearly a product of a conscious mind.
Yeah.
What we see in nature, when you're saying, yeah, I'm addressing him by the way.
it's free speech, so I can say
No,
yeah.
no, you can. But I just want you to think this is a.
We just be tolerant and ignoring.
Do
Just
you
get on
want
with it.
everyone else to disappear then? So you just have one to one?
It's
Is that what you
cool,
wanna
guys.
do?
Bro, just go ahead. Finish.
In
the
nature, when we see complexity far in advance of this, whether it be in the human brain or in the laws of physics or in biological mechanisms, the scientific method, as practiced in the West, which is the product of post-Enlightenment thought, is predicated on an assumption which is that the explanation offered to anything in material reality will be a material cause. So it would only look for immanent cause and effects in terms of explanations. So, as Carl Sagan once said, this universe, that's all that there is. And that is a naturalist philosophical outlook based on methodological naturalism. And I think that the atheism has exploited the Western way of doing science.
I'm not an atheist, by the way.
I'm talking about Carl Sagan. Have exploited this assumption that Western science has, that it would only look for material causes and effects, and it has exploited that by saying, look, there is only materialism, there's only material reality in the universe. And I would say that it is a philosophical...
That's a very big generalization of Western philosophy.
Well, I have read Nobel Prize-winning scientists,
Maybe you didn't read enough scientists.
Say this about how they do their science. There's one in particular, a Jewish scientist in the States, a Nobel Prize-winning physics, says, this is how we do our science. We look for material causes in the world around us.
But you just talk about design.
We don't look for material... thank you for your contribution. We don't look for non-material causality in the universe. I would say that mind or consciousness is prior to matter.
Okay, sure.
Consciousness is prior, and some physicists would even agree with that now. And that consciousness is best characterized by the word that we use, God, understand in a very pure sense of the monotheism of Islam, rather than the humanoid God of Christianity or the chimpanzees and elephants of Hinduism. I'm talking about the very pure concept of monotheism in Islam. Now, I think this is the most holistic explanation for all of the phenomena reality we see. Not just material reality, but it encompasses our consciousness, human consciousness, which science can't explain. It can also explain or deal with a theistic explanation. It could do with beauty, truth, why we're here, ethics, right and wrong, justice, and so on.
Now you're kind of losing the way of the conversation.
Whereas a materialist explanation, an atheist explanation...
I'm not an atheist, once again.
Cannot
You're
explain...
using the atheist pre-prepared speech.
Perhaps he knows I am.
Cannot explain...
We've met before, so...
Just
cannot
wrap up
explain...
your point.
I am wrapping up. Cannot explain this huge range of phenomena so well as the explanation based on theism.
Okay.
So I would say any explanation like yours, which kind of doubts that, is moving away from the truth.
Okay. Are you finished?
I am.
Good.
Thank you for listening.
You're welcome. I'm not saying God does not exist. I'm not affirming that. I'm not saying that it's certain that God doesn't exist. What I'm saying is, your certainty is in God. That is the lie. That is where the lie comes in. And when I said watchmaker fallacy, you said phone, and I immediately said, or a watch. A watch is also a complicated mechanism. So you will assume that somebody made the watch, right? But you can't apply that same ideology to everything.
Right.
You know, if you look into the
God's
planets,
more complex than the watch.
exactly. If you look at how planets function,
Feed him lines,
how stars function, it's a very complicated thing.
What functions?
Planets or stars or those kinds of things. You know how gravity in space functions. It's very complicated. There's lots and lots of different things about it. It could be said that it's more complicated than the watch. Just because you deem the watch to be very complicated, just because you deem the watch to be something that could not possibly be made without intelligence, does not mean that same principle applies to everything else. You know what I mean?
And also with watch or iPhone, whatever you want to use, we can go back to the person that actually designed it.
Exactly.
And actually talk to them, understand the person, why they designed
It's
what
called
they
prayer. We do. We talk to God through
With
prayer.
God, you
You're right.
can't.
You can. You can pray. You can talk to God. You
Right,
can pray
okay,
to Him.
I can communicate.
If I shout at
Hang on.
myself,
You can pray to God directly now if you want. You can say, "Oh God,"
But the difference is, it's
to the
one way.
Creator.
I can go pray to the tree.
No, it's two ways.
I won't get a
with
response.
respect,
He has communicated with mankind through prophets and messengers. The last one of which is the Quran.
I can go to
Anyway,
the person who
back to
designed
you.
iPhone and have a communication with him.
Yeah, but you can with God as well.
You can't.
You can. I've told you, you can.
It's in your head. You can't.
No, of course you can.
Go on, then, get that then.
What's your evidence you can't? What is your evidence you can't?
Set up a meeting with me and God, please.
Right, I'll do it now, right?
Right.
In Islam,
It's impossible.
I'm sorry, you haven't even started yet.
Go on, go
How
on.
can you jettison it before it even started? Right, in Islam, we believe that there is one God, the Creator, who made everything that we see in the universe. He provides for us. He nurtures us.
Yeah, I know. I know what is
Okay,
what the faith of Islam. Yeah, don't worry about that.
Right.
Carry on.
So the first part of the Shahada is to bear witness to that reality.
Yeah.
And then you will communicate with God. Salah is another word. Is connection in Arabic. So you pray to God 5 times a day.
You're saying some words in Arabic doesn't mean you're communicating with God and He's responding back to you.
No, you're missing the point here. I'm telling you what Islam states is the truth. So you are communicating with God. God has communicated to mankind through numerous revelations. The last one is the Qur'an. He's communicated to Jesus and Moses and so on. So to say he's not communicated denies all the experience of the humanity for the last 100,000 years. We believe God is communicating with us. So I invite you now to participate in that. That's my invitation to you.
What? Sorry, say that again. I'm confused. What you're asking me?
You say, let's do it now. I'm inviting you to say your Shahada, to become a Muslim.
I'm communicating
and
with
start praying.
you, not God. I can put you in communication with the person who designed iPhone.
I'm saying this is how
I don't need no middle people.
Is it
Hang on.
communication
Hang
if
on.
you're saying something to someone
Hang on.
and nothing
You-
is being said to you?
you're-
And you don't, is it communication if you're saying something
they're
to
not
a
saying
being
anything
you
back?
think exists, but you have no proof that it exists,
We do have proof.
and the being is not saying
There's
anything back?
overwhelming evidence that God exists.
Where? What? Don't give me a design, perfect
Have you not
design.
listened to anything I've
Bro,
been saying?
you
It's
use
not
the
evidence.
It
watchmaker
is evidence.
fallacy.
It's not evidence.
Not
Okay.
The
How is it-
watchmaker
how is it
fallacy
a-
isn't full
How
proof.
is it a fallacy?
proof of
You've
his
not told me
existence of
how it's a
God.
fallacy, a logical fallacy yet.
Because you can't
All you said
apply
is,
that
I don't
same-
really
Hang
believe
on. All
it.
right. Let's
That's not a fallacy.
You should research watchmaker's
Can I
fallacy.
add to the fallacy?
No, you can't.
Enter,
I want to
enter.
talk. I want to
Yes,
talk
you
to him.
can.
Can I ask
Yes,
one
yes, he
question?
can.
Let me ask him one
I'm not
question.
happy. I want to, because before you came on the scene, there's a particular reason why he and I are having this discussion. Because of his agnosticism. If it's a
No,
free-for-all,
because I want
yes.
to talk about contradictions in the Quran. And
Can I-
you changed the
can I just-
conversation
No,
because
no.
you don't want to talk about it.
Let me ask him one
No,
question.
I want you to show me where the logical fallacy is in saying that the universe, which exhibits masses of evidence of design, is actually made by a designer.
Okay, let me
Where
ask
is
you-
the logical fallacy?
He did
Can
that.
I ask you that
Can
question?
I do it?
No, I'm asking you this question.
Let me ask you one question.
Answer his question.
You've given up, haven't you?
Not
You've given
you.
up.
I'm
you given
almost, I'm this close to giving up
Exactly.
because you're not actually engaging in anything I'm asking you. And when I'm I'm contradicting the things you're saying, you don't notice it, and you
don't,
think
no.
I'm just not answering enough.
Let me ask him one question
hang
and
on.
I'll kill this
No,
conversation.
He'll just ask one question. After that,
no,
I'll
you want to
answer.
know.
is the
You don't want to
answer.
know. You
Can
don't
you,
want to
can
know.
you just repeat without interruption? For people?
Repeat your question so we are sure
Can
I'm
you-
answering your
okay,
question.
Maybe I've just been very, very dumb. What is the precise point you're making about why it's a fallacy for me to believe that if it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, then it is a duck? That's my argument, basically. If the universe looks designed, has masses of manifestations of intelligence and engineering and fine-tuning on an extraordinary level, for me to posit a non-material cause for this and a continuing sustaining of this, why is that incoherent or fallacy?
I can answer it.
That
I
is
can
why.
answer it.
Because many
I
people
can
believe
answer
this.
it. Do you want me to answer it? I'll answer.
Or decide it again,
Because
because I
it's-
missed your point.
Okay, do you want me to answer it or not?
Well, you say you've already told me, but I didn't quite catch what the answer was.
Okay, I'll answer
so-
you again.
Right.
Because the answer to that is not as certain as, for example, saying a triangle has 3 sides. You are reasonable in assuming that seeing that everything you see that's complicated was made by an intelligent being. You're reasonable in that, but there is a possibility of doubt in that argument because it's not a relation of ideas like the triangle has 3 sides.
Right, I understand
I'm not
that.
saying
I
what you're saying is
understand
wrong.
that.
I'm
Okay,
saying
I
it
get
is
you now.
doubtful.
What's your name again?
Pavlov.
Pavlov, I get you now. Maybe I didn't hear it before. So let me reflect on what you said. You seem to be saying that because my epistemological certainty about this is not 100% like a triangle having 3 sides or 5 and 7 equal 12, therefore there is doubt, therefore that it's not a very good proof. Okay.
Yes.
That's, okay, good point. But notice I never said I had absolute certainty. What I
Yes, you
said
did.
was no.
And that's
You know you're not-
exactly
no,
why
you're
I
not-
brought you to that.
no,
Yes,
you're
you
not
did.
with
It's
me.
on
Let
camera.
me remind you what I said, because this is on film. This is on film. People can see what I said. I said to you, and I corrected you on this before. I said there's overwhelming evidence. That was the precise words I used. You weren't here for
After that,
Yes,
if
weren't
you
here for
remember,
this.
if you remember
Now,
correctly,
hang on.
I think I'm going to
Overwhelming
agree
evidence.
with him here, and I don't normally agree with him. But that is all he said.
Let me finish.
No,
Overwhelming
but you
evidence
were not
is
here
not.
when he did say it.
Overwhelming evidence is
did
not
say
the
it.
same as saying that there's 100% proof on the same way that mathematical proofs are true. I never said that. Although what you made is a really interesting distinction.
Bro, listen. Okay, wait. Now you might make the argument that you just, spoke without thinking, which fair enough, I can't really debunk that. But you did say it. That's exactly why I brought you to that question. And I specified it. Are you 100% certain? Is your faith absolute?
You're
That's why
agnostic, you're not
I
really-
specified it.
Okay, that's
If
a
you
different
have
question.
even 1% of certainty, you're not. It's
Can I
not
ask my question?
100%.
No, you
I've got
can't.
one question.
No, you can't.
Why would you let me ask a question?
Because I'm having a conversation. Because you know you're wrong. That's right. I want to have a conversation. Don't be rude and facetious.
Dude, just let him ask one question.
I want to answer this point. You see, in my mind, I thought that was two different questions. When you ask about my own personal certainty, you're asking me about how I feel, about, do I believe something with complete certainty? And I do actually believe that God exists. But I was making a different point. I was talking about objective evidence. I said there's overwhelming evidence for the existence, the suggested existence of God. You asked me a different question as well about my personal subjective feelings about it. I personally have no doubt God exists. And I affirm that again now. But it's a different question then to say about the evidence.
So you doubt your feelings.
You see, I may have perfect evidence that my wife loves me 100%.
So you doubt your feelings, don't you?
According to human religion,
You don't doubt your
There are
feelings.
intellectual arguments and then there's subjective feelings. That's what I took that to be two different questions.
By the way, when he
Do
doubts
you
it,
believe in God 100% or not?
so
Do you?
knowledge.
Yes, you do.
Yes, without qualification. But that's a different question from what we're debating. We're talking
You can
about.
say you believe in God, but you can't actually explain why.
No, I can explain why. I said there's overwhelmingly likely he exists based on objective evidence.
But you might be wrong.
Yes, I could be. Yes.
So you're not 100% certain.
No. Okay, in that sense. But
That's exactly.
that's a ridiculous.
This is
thing to
exactly
say.
the same
But notice what
uncertainty
no,
that I have.
I said it is overwhelmingly likely, like it is virtually certain, virtually then, let's make it even higher, virtually certain, but not absolutely certain, for my limited human capacity to explain it. The evidence,
With your limited limited knowledge, you are achieving a certain kind of certainty in your limitation. But you understand that you are limited, and thus it's not an absolute trust. It's not an absolute faith, because you understand your own
we're
limits.
talking about the limitations of human epistemology here, and this applies to any belief system, atheism, agnosticism.
Thank you.
It's meant to be.
You want to buy
I
it?
would have won
Yes,
a
only
2 or 3 or
£200.
It's meant to be my
Yeah,
gift.
it's designed. That doesn't mean
Respect.
I was talking about a wife, but I got
Go ahead, bro.
by the way, if you it comes with a head as well, it's an extra 50 pence. The extra 50 pence you get his head.
My apologies.
Go with it.
If you're going to
I thought it's quite a good deal.
claim
I'm going to pay him
human
later.
capacity
But first, the debate.
so complex.
Yes, thank you for this chap who just mentioned. I was trying to explain about my alleged wife. By the way, I don't have a wife, but let's pretend I do.
Hello there.
Okay, I am certain that my wife loves me. I know deep down in my heart my wife loves me. You come along and say, can you be 100% certain? Can you prove to me with absolute certainty your wife loves you? And I had to confess I couldn't. Now, but notice the analogy here. Does that mean, and I just your point, well then my wife doesn't love me? Everything collapses now according to you. Oh, I can't say my wife loves me anymore. Oh, that's it. My wife doesn't love me.
What you said,
It doesn't mean that.
what you said proves to me that you are much more intelligent than most religious people, because they do not realize the possibility of their own flaw, and thus they follow their faith 100% without realizing the
I have
possibility.
100% faith, but like the analogy with
But you
my
realize
wife,
you might be wrong.
it could be that my wife doesn't love me and she's pretending to love me.
Exactly.
Yes,
That's an intelligent conclusion.
But you see the problem here. I've known my wife for years. We're passionately in love. We always. I mean, you have to come with some really good evidence that she is a fake. Really good evidence. So I would say the burden of proof is actually not on me, but on you
Yes, it is
to
on
provide
you.
the proof. No.
Yes, it is on the
Because
religious
I
people.
know my wife loves me.
Another point,
I
your
know
wife-
my wife loves me.
another
I don't need proof.
No, but if you
I
accept
don't need
the
proof.
possibility that you might be
Hang on,
wrong,
hang on.
then I don't have to prove
Another-
anything. I already got what I wanted. That's all I want.
Another difference between your
That
wife.
doubt is all I
Hang on,
want
hang
to
on.
achieve.
Another difference between
It's a
your
very
wife
small little point.
and God.
Well, that's all I want to achieve.
Hang on, go ahead. Another difference between your wife, your relationship with your wife, and God is that you can actually communicate with your wife. Your wife's actions prove to you that you love her.
Communicate with God. Where do you get the idea you
It's a
can't communicate with
one-way
God?
communication system.
Exactly.
He's not talking to you back.
I've
Your
already
wife-
answered you on this 1,000 times.
It's a very wild assumption. It's a very wild assumption. It is.
It's an everyday assumption of millions of people.
Let me
We
ask
can
my
pray to
question that I
God.
was going to ask 20 minutes
You wouldn't
ago,
accept
yeah?
it.
Do you know everything that you say, everything has a designer, yeah? Everything's been designed by someone. Is that what you're saying?
No.
So you said earlier, perfect design, this
No,
more.
that's a trick question. If I actually
Just kidding. Maybe if somebody wants to buy it.
like Tony Robinson had that milkshake. The resulting configuration of the milkshake on his coat.
Oh, that's a good movie, man.
Was that designed? No, it wasn't, because design implies intentionality. You said to me that I believe everything is designed.
So do you
Some
believe-
things, like the splurge on Tommy Robinson's jacket, thanks be to God, are actually not the actual design. The configuration of it is not designed. It is random. What I'm talking about is the universe itself. Is many suggestions of being designed. It's not that it's complexity. That's slightly small man. My point is it's not just complexity, because this configuration might be complicated.
No, I want to keep it simple.
It is, how do we finish? It is the engineering, it is the purposefulness, it is the incredible fine-tuning of the laws of physics. There's much more going on than just complexity, as to say, with the Tommy Robinson splurge. Here we have something which shrieks out to the whole human race, God, God, God. And this God has invited mankind, through the Jews, through Muhammad, through lots of other prophets, to pray to him, communicate to him, as he has communicated to us through his prophets and messengers. So when you say,
Don't touch. It's fragile, bro. It's fragile.
I thought you were touching your headpiece.
So my point is this, right?
It's fragile, sorry. It's fragile.
So my point is this, right? Because I've had debates with Muslim people before, and they tried to tell me, explain to me how this is a great design. There must be a creator there to design the whole planet and the trees and the humans, and we're perfect. We eat.
But not Tommy Robinson splurges.
In a nutshell, they believe that everything has a designer,
No,
a creator.
I don't believe that.
So you don't believe God
You don't
created
believe
everything?
everything has a designer?
No, I've already answered this question. I've already answered that question.
You haven't answered the question. I'm asking you a simple question.
I've already answered it. You've not listened to it.
Are you a Muslim?
Yes.
Yeah, so you should know this, that in Islam, God creates everything. You know that, don't you?
Okay.
And yet God
God's
is
the
the
creator.
exception to the rule of creation.
No, we're not
because nothing
finessing
created
it. You talk to me about Islam, but you don't actually know your own religion.
Don't patronise me, all right?
But you,
Don't
this is
patronise me.
Are you
We
Muslim?
need to finesse.
Let's get another Muslim involved.
No,
and
no.
I tell
We
you,
need to finesse this. Let me
we're
explain what I
not
mean.
finessing it. We're keeping it simple.
No, I don't want to
need
keep it
go into
simple
Tommy Robinson's
because
jacket.
we're dealing here with complicated subjects. Let me explain why. Because if I drop my coffee on the floor,
I don't want to know about your coffee. I'm simply asking you, do you believe everything you're wearing has a designer or a creator? Yes or no?
Oh yeah, what I'm wearing, yes, but not everything in the universe. No.
What about trees? What about humans?
What about? Can I? What about my example?
Don't
You're
make it
ignoring.
complicated.
Doesn't have a
I'm not.
creator.
There's nothing complicated about my example. If I was to drop some coffee on the floor, is the configuration of that intentionally designed by God?
You tell me. I don't believe in
No.
God.
Of course not.
How
God-
can you know it's not?
Ridiculous.
How can you know it's not?
What?
It might be.
We need to finesse this. We need to finesse this. The coffee
Am I
exists.
touching you with the mask?
That's fine.
Yeah, don't touch his head yet.
No, it was by accident.
Looking forward to removing the head, by the way. That's a Muslim tradition, removing the head. It's a joke. It's a
Your
joke.
words, not mine.
That's going to be replayed on
At
YouTube.
least you know he's not serious.
Do you now? Do you really know I'm not serious? So my point is that when I'm talking about design, I'm talking about an intentional, a highly complex, engineered system, whether it be an iPhone or a human cell, which could not have been produced by random purposes, meaningless. It has to be directed and
Yeah.
caused and designed by an intelligent
And I
designer.
agree.
So a coffee splurge on the floor is not what I'm talking about.
Coffee
And-
splurge on the floor, that's an event. That's just
no,
something
but it's
else.
an event in the universe. You said everything in the universe is designed by
talking
God.
about-
I'm talking about the big stuff. I'm talking about the laws of physics.
Forget
I'm
the
talking about
coffee.
human
Forget Tommy
consciousness.
Robinson's
No, I'm not
jacket.
going to
Just-
forget anything.
No,
because
what's just
your
let
Let me
statements
ask you
include
something.
that.
Is everything created by God?
Yes, just
Yes.
say yes.
Everything
Exactly.
but God.
Who created
So
God?
God is the exaction. Okay,
who
another
created
question.
God?
No one.
So everything
It's a
you make,
misunderstanding of
everything.
God.
Wait. Just let
God
me.
is the uncaused
wait,
cause
wait,
of all
guys,
things.
just let me.
By definition.
Fair enough. That's not where I'm going. Where I'm going is this. So everything you do is made by God in reality. It's not done by you,
My
it's
actions.
done by God. Yes.
In an ultimate sense.
You're not in control.
Yes. Exactly. So you don't exist.
I have free will.
God is the only thing that exists if
Well,
everything you
sorry,
do
how
is
did
done
I-
by God.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the premise of inclusion.
Because I asked
Everything
you,
you do.
is everything
One thing
made?
is fine.
Is everything done by God? You said yes. Everything you do is done by God. Yes. Then you don't exist.
One of the attributes of God is that He is a creator. He makes things. He makes the universe. Now, the universe is not God. The universe came into existence and it will go out of existence again.
So where
God
does
is
the universe
God
exist?
is the uncaused cause of all that there is in the universe. That's a very rational thing to say. It makes sense of our religious experiences, of the fact of the universe, why there is something rather than nothing, which needs to be explained. Also by the engineering and exquisite fine-tuning in the universe, in biological systems and laws of physics. Yeah.
Does
So this is a highly rational thing to believe. Highly rational.
So God exists in matter.
No.
No, He doesn't exist in matter.
God is like nothing. It says in the Quran.
So God is nothing.
does God control what happens in the universe?
It says in the Quran that not only did God create the universe, but there's nothing like unto Him in the universe. He is completely different from the universe. He existed when the universe didn't exist and will continue.
And how do you know it's a he?
So you can't perceive God in any way
What do you mean perceive?
because He doesn't exist as you exist. Perceive, see, hear, smell,
with my eyes.
understand,
With my eyes.
with any senses. You can't understand God.
Can't
In our,
feel
in our tradition, there will be, it says so in the Quran, we will see, there will come a time, not in this life, in the next life, when we will actually see God. Whatever see means, we will see God. But in this life, I don't believe that we actually see God in that sense, in this limited space-time continuum. That's not our purpose on earth.
If you will be able to see Him, that means He exists in matter.
What do you mean by matter?
By matter, I mean He exists. If you can see Him, eyes are something that perceive things that exist.
The being.
Exactly.
See,
He has a physical
matter
manifestation.
is something that He creates.
Yes, but by
So
what
he's
you're
not
saying,
what
if you
he
can
creates.
see God, then He
a
exists
being.
as a being,
No,
as matter.
Remember what I said here. According to our tradition, Muslims will have the vision of God, what Catholics call the beatific vision, in the life to come. Now, what is the nature of our existence in the afterlife? Is it just like it is here? I don't think so. So I can't really comment on another dimension and another realm after we die. Now, if you want to call it material, that's up to you. But it's not like us now in our materiality. We exist in a different realm, a different reality.
Okay,
So I
okay.
can't address that in detail. I think it's wrong just to say God is material in the sense that a jacket is material. That's not what I'm saying.
Once again, it's a very wild assumption.
Mind using your jacket as an example.
It's a very wild assumption.
That's
that's what I-
religion. That's not
That- that's what
factual.
Exactly,
Revelation
religion
is
is
not
based
factual,
on
it's just
wild
wild.
assumptions.
It's
It's
just
based on the overwhelming existence.
It's
of
just
the
the
probable
belief.
existence
Nothing
of God.
overwhelming about it.
it's belief.
believe
It's not
Okay,
real.
wait, let me just give you one last point. If this doesn't make you change your mind even the slightest, nothing will. You believe that the watchmaker, logic, the watchmaker logic, that everything that is complicated was created by something, can be applied to everything, right?
Not quite. It's not quite what I said. I said that
I'm not sure you understand
that
what
when we
you
look at the universe, we see signs of God's creative power by virtue of its exquisite fine-tuning, its engineering. It's not just abstract complexity, like a puddle on the floor can be complex in its molecules. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the contrivedness of it, the fact that it looks engineered, it looks like a put-up job. The best explanation is a creator. That's my argument.
It's not the
It's
best
not complexity
explanation.
itself.
It's not the only
It's not complexity
explanation.
itself.
The explanation I am giving to this is I don't know. I will not assume things that are completely beyond my understanding. I will give my best to understand them, but if it's just a wild assumption, a complete wild assumption,
not wild.
I won't
There's nothing
treat it.
wild about it.
Wait, I will not treat it as an absolute certainty. That is my point here. And I don't want people to treat their faith as an absolute certainty. My point is not debunking Islam, it's not any of that shit. My point is to make people see their truth is not absolute.
Can I
agreed to that
can I
earlier,
finally
He
invite
agreed
you?
to it, so
can I finally
I don't
invite
think
you?
I have any.
Can I
any
finally invite
discussion.
you to reflect on this?
Invite me to?
Reflect on this. What I'm about to say.
Sure.
This may not be true of your actual life, but just imagine it's true.
Okay, go ahead.
You have a wife. You love her passionately. She loves you passionately.
Yeah.
You've known her for 10 years.
Yes.
and this is, you're convinced this is true. She tells you she loves you, and you've had many proofs of that in your day-to-day life, of her commitment, her loyalty, her selflessness, her care and love for you. Someone comes along, a skeptic, prove to me. Look, I'm not going to believe, you should not, no, sorry, you, the husband, should not believe your wife loves you unless you've got 100% certainty, absolute guarantee, analogous to all married manufacturers, or all unmarried manufacturers, or all triangles have three sides. Unless you have that 100% certainty, you cannot trust your wife. You cannot trust your wife. There is no. It is a mere wild supposition. That your wife loves you.
It's
exactly the same.
You see your wife. You can talk to your wife. But you can perceive your wife with your senses.
100%
But at the same time, you can never be 100% certain.
But wait, let me answer this because he has
Can you give 100% guarantee that your wife is not caught up in some elaborate fraud?
No, I can't.
Precisely.
But I'm not arguing against.
Will you now divorce your wife?
No, I won't.
Of course you
because
won't.
I'm committing to it.
Of course you won't divorce your wife.
No, okay, I answered your question. Now let me ask you a question.
I haven't finished yet. This is an analogy. By the same reasoning, by the same logic, it's an analogy, obviously.
You can't compare
You cannot say, I demand 100% absolute rational proof before I believe in God. But also, in the most important thing in your wife, your love for your wife.
Okay,
Do not
I understand
demand,
your point.
not
You don't need to go any
demand
further.
that certainty.
I think I proved that I understand
you are not being consistent. You are not demanding certainty in one.
You're the one not being
other.
consistent.
You're confused.
Would you like to answer that?
Hang on.
I will answer.
I'll answer.
Talking about his
wait,
wife.
I'll do it.
I don't have a
All
wife,
right.
but I'll have a go.
Listen, bro. Both
Or
my
boyfriend.
wait. Both my belief. No ad hominem. Come on, no ad hominem. Both my belief.
That's hominem.
Wait,
This is the world around us.
wait. Both my belief in my wife, that she loves me and all that stuff, and my belief in God, if I had it, are beliefs, right? But the thing is, my belief in wife is based on matters of fact.
Yes.
It's based on actions, on things I perceive. Things, for example, this guy is standing right here, right now, besides us. It's a matter of fact. It's not as certain. Wait. It's not as certain. It's not as certain. Wait, guys, I'm getting at something now. It's not as certain as 1 + 1 = 2. It's not as certain as a triangle has 3 sides. But considering that my senses are flawed to a certain extent, I perceive him here and I accept that as reality. Even though I know that it could be wrong. I could
Exactly.
Yeah, wait, wait. The difference between the wife.
He's quite sophisticated in his philosophy.
Thank you.
I'm complimenting you, by the way.
Listen. The difference is between the wife and God is probability. You perceive your wife, you talk to your wife, you speak, you've been living your whole life with your wife. Now,
What's the probability?
now your belief in God,
98%?
your belief in God is based on things that you read in a book that was written hundreds of years ago by man's hand. No doubt about it. It's based on that book. It's based on interpretations by people you call scholars who are not your prophet and who are not. Wait. I'll let you speak. Let me speak.
Follow a book?
I'll let you speak. Let me speak.
You don't follow the book, and you're Muslim.
This is not.
makes
we're
no
not
sense.
If
having
you
a
don't follow the
discussion
book, you're
about
not a Muslim.
We're not talking about
Yes,
that.
we
We're
are.
talking about,
If you're a Muslim, you believe in every single word in the Quran because that's the word of God. That's the way you're meant to live your life,
This
politically,
is all wrong.
religiously,
Bro,
socially.
you're changing your
Let me
you're
speak for
changing
myself.
your
Let me
opinion
speak
as
for
you
myself.
go.
You move things
In the
around and
last
make
hour
things
I've been talking, all of my arguments have been premised on what you and I can, in a shared way, can observe. I've never once mentioned the Quran as evidence for anything. Now, I
It's
think the Quran-
it's what you believe in.
Well, the Quran is the basics of your religion.
I am intelligent. You can't tell me you're Muslim.
He's got a point though. The Quran is the
I've not
basics of
mentioned-
your
Don't claim
religion.
to be something
It is.
and then not.
All of your religion comes from the Quran.
The way you live your life
You
is
understand Islam. There's something called the fitra in Islam. Now listen, you're going to learn. Listen, that what we believe, and I think it's excellent evidence for this, scientific evidence, that we as human beings have an innate disposition to believe in God and to do good and to avoid evil and so on. I believed in God Islam way before I knew anything about Islam. I was a Christian beforehand, right? So, and my beliefs didn't change about the existence of God when I became a Muslim. It wasn't based on the Quran. It was always based on this innate attribute or ability we all have. So I'm not arguing because you're not a Muslim. There's no point in me arguing the basis of the Quran. I'm arguing about things we share that we can observe. The universe, the engineering, the fine-tuning, the exquisite balance we see in the universe. I'm saying it's far more likely to be caused by an intelligent creator than by random chance.
I think the difference between your faith in Christianity and your faith in Islam. What is the difference?
I don't think he's a Muslim. He doesn't. You just believe in God.
I don't think so either, but let him answer. What's the difference?
I'm doing it I'm arguing from monotheism, not from the Quran. Although everything I've said is in the Quran about God's sign and some. Because it's one who submits to God. That's what God calls people to.
Christianity. No difference there.
We believe that they are also called to that, but they have corrupted and changed the religion given to Jesus.
Christians.
They've corrupted and changed it. They've made a God out of Jesus and they worship Jesus.
But how do you know they haven't changed
What
the Quran?
about the Jews? Why are you not Jewish?
How do you know they haven't changed
Why are
the
you
Quran?
not Jewish?
Because I'm a Gentile. Are you arguing my DNA now? Are you arguing my DNA?
Because you keep moving to
Judaism
position.
doesn't only have to do with DNA. You can become a Jew.
Very colourful.
You can become a Jew.
Listen, the problem is you keep moving your position.
Difference
You're
in
not.
belief about God between Jews and Muslims. We both believe the same thing.
And
the
Christians.
thing is, the Jew. I'm not a Jew, therefore I'm a Gentile. So Judaism is not for me. As a Muslim, I believe Muhammad was sent to all the people of the world. He's a universal prophet, whereas Jesus, for example, and Moses were only sent to the Jews. Jesus said in Matthew 15, "I've only been sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Jesus wasn't sent for me; he was sent for the Jews.
Okay.
Muhammad
So
said,
seeing that you disagree
Muhammad
with
said
the
that
faith in Jesus,
Muhammad said he
you
was sent
follow
as a
instead
mercy.
of the Bible, you follow the Quran.
Hang on. Muhammad said he was sent as a mercy for
logical
the whole world. Therefore, he is the obvious prophet.
You keep saying not to talk about the Quran, but you pick Muhammad's quotes from the
Dude,
Quran,
that's
and
the
Muhammad
big,
said this, Muhammad said
the
that. How
only
can
difference
you pick and choose
between
what you want to.
Christianity and Islam is the Quran and
the book.
maybe Salih al-Bukhari. Some Muslims follow.
Islam corrects the
It's your book,
deviations.
really.
The
We
books are
believe
the main difference. The
Because
difference
both
is in the
religions believe
books
there's one God.
compose Islam and compose Christianity. If you say you're a Christian who doesn't follow anything of the Bible, or you're a Muslim who doesn't follow anything of the Quran, then I'm sorry, but you're just deluded in your
Islam
ideology.
says that Christians have gone astray in what they believe about Jesus. For example, they made him into a god, where he said explicitly, "I am not a god." He worshipped God. He had a mother. He wasn't God at all. So they have gone astray. Islam is the pure, unchanged, uncorrupted, final dispensation given to mankind to believe in. It's
Where's
not
the
being
evidence for
corrupted
that?
and changed.
Where's the evidence for that?
You really want me to go through it?
Well, I don't want to go. You're claiming something, but you don't want to go through it.
You want to say how? Okay.
You don't want to talk about the Quran, but you keep
Look,
quoting
bro,
stuff
I
out.
think we're entering in a
barking at me
huge contradiction here, because you're saying you're not a Christian, you're saying you don't follow the Quran. So
saying I
in the
follow the
end,
Quran.
so you do follow the Quran.
But I didn't bring the Quran into our discussion because you don't believe in the Quran, so why mention it? I'm only talking about what you and I can agree exists, like the universe, like fine-tuning, like the engineering of
So you do
complex
follow the
mechanisms.
Quran.
Of course.
Now you've changed your opinion
No, I
again.
haven't. You misunderstood
Yes, I
me. You
have.
misunderstood
No, I
me.
didn't misunderstand.
I think a bit of humility on your part. You misunderstood me. I'm not bringing the Quran into
Okay,
this
he
argument.
misunderstood you too, and the other guy also
You're all
misunderstood.
misunderstood.
there you go then.
The point being, I think we're all in agreement, and you actually
Now
agreed.
you can say that
Hang on.
every single person who disagrees with you
You
just
agreed to
misunderstood.
this
You're an
earlier.
atheist, aren't you? You're
No,
an
no,
atheist.
I'm
What are you?
agnostic because I can't prove anything. If I
You
can't prove it,
anything.
well, no, I can't. But in
can't
terms
prove
of
the
God,
existence
I
of
can't
God
prove
or the
that he exists,
non-existence
and I
of
can't
God.
prove that he doesn't exist. So I'm not going to pick one side and just say, you know what, I'm going to.
You're not married, but if you were to marry and you had a wife and she loved you and you loved her for 10 years,
Let's not go into the wife.
Would you? No, this is an analogy because you don't.
Okay, let me answer it. Let me answer
The
it.
love
don't
of my
require that
wife
level
would
of
be far
certainty
likelier
on-
than the
on
existence
on
of
the
the
life-
God I believe in.
Let me answer this
It
question.
would be far
Quite
likelier.
uncomfortable wearing them.
So let me answer your question about the wife thing, yeah? How am I certain that
Assuming
my
you're not
wife...
gay.
No,
That's not an ad hominem.
let's
by the
not
way.
make assumptions.
Kind of
but
is.
anyway,
Making
just
assumptions.
because
I'm
you don't have a
assuming
wife...
you're not gay.
Yeah, why are you
don't have
even
a wife,
mentioning it
do
then?
you want me to say you're gay?
No, I mean you can if you want.
Dude,
Sound a
why
little
are
bit
you
like
mentioning it?
Anyway,
even?
listen.
There is no need for the argument to even mention.
You want to compare the love of my wife towards me with the existence of God. That's a ridiculous
That's not
comparison.
what I'm
But
saying.
let me
Yes,
you are.
Come on.
Let me tell you something, okay?
Not ridiculous.
I know,
Bro,
Hey,
you compared it
I'm
many
not.
times and now
Hang
you're
on,
saying
hang
it's
on.
not what you're
I
saying.
know my wife loves me because of my actions of my wife towards me. My wife is nice to me, she cooks for me, she cleans for me, she does what we want to do together, she gives me children. There's so many different reasons why I could pick. She's chosen me as a man to be with for the rest of her life. These are reasons that I can give you why my wife loves me. What reasons could you give me that God exists?
Right.
You can't.
I can. Let me
You
explain.
can't.
No,
You
don't
go around
tell me
circles.
what I can and cannot do.
Because
I
you've been
haven't said it
talking
yet.
for an hour.
Well, no, let me explain. You're so arrogant sometimes. I can say the same thing. I can say I know God exists because He has provided me with food. He provided me with life itself. He provided me. Excuse me.
How do you know that?
I listened to you, and you're interrupting.
Okay, yeah.
And He has provided me with the capacity to enjoy music and trees and flowers. He provided me capacity to think. He provided me with the air I breathe. He provided me with life itself. There are so many things that we can be grateful for and to give thanks to God for our very lives. There's actually much more than your wife gave you. Your wife didn't give you life. She may have looked after you, but God does all that. He looks after us, keeps us in existence, cares for us, and gives us life, and rewards us with eternal life and paradise as well. So
You can't
God does
prove
an
that
awful
like I
lot
can
more.
with my wife.
God does an awful. The proof is all here.
No, there isn't.
I have
You
the
just-
proof. I have the
You are
proof.
assuming
not the
it's
proof.
proof.
You're
No.
assuming.
When it's very doubtful.
assuming.
It's
You're
another
giving-
wild assumption.
I'm not gonna lie, like I'm a Christian, bro, and I believe in God, but I would say you've not given any proof. There's no proof.
So as a Christian,
all around you.
how
It's
would
just
you
you
how would you
accept
prove
it.
that God exists?
Anyway, I'm going to
saying
move on
he's
actually,
given
going
no
around in
proof.
circles.
Okay, fair enough.
It's been a pleasure
Thank
to talk to you, and
thank you for the
I,
conversation.
Good luck with the headdress.
I don't need it. The people will love this. I can already see the loving
You
comments.
made it yourself. Very impressive.
I did. All right. Yeah, this is done. I mean, I wanted to talk to someone about contradictions in the Quran, but the guy changed the
There's
subject.
contradiction in every religion, in
course
every
there
single
is.
book.
Of course there is.
The Bible,
Religion
the
is a
Quran.
tool of power.
Exactly. Every book is made or written by men. It's not written by God.
Yeah.
It was written by men hundreds and hundreds and thousands of years ago. To look at every religious book, right, favors men. All the actions in Islam, you can have up to 4 wives.
Yeah.
Right? Why? Do you know what I mean? Where's the good things for females in all these books? It doesn't exist. And you can talk to these people about God and existence, but no one can prove to you. It doesn't matter what.
It's not. Because it's beyond their knowledge. It's not a relation of ideas. It's either a matter of fact or an observed regularity, and both of those are very flawed. And you can't compare the existence of God to a triangle has 3 sides. It's simply not the same thing.
And he talked about, he was confused because he kept changing his position. He claimed to be Muslim, but he doesn't know anything about Islam. I can tell you that now, right? And then he compares the love of my wife or your wife. He compares that to proof that God exists. You know, with your wife, at least you can look at the actions of your wife and say, this is why my wife loves me. With God, you can just say, oh, and look around you. And the other thing, he talked about the planet being a perfect design and blah, blah, blah. How do you know this is a perfect design? This is what you know. If I was to design a planet from scratch again, I would do so many things different. First of all, I'd make sure that humans live a lot longer than 60 or 70 years. You know, I would stop all the war zones. I would stop, people dying with, a
You
natural
see, that's the
disaster.
thing. God might exist, and that's why I usually say that I will God. I want God to exist, but I don't want this cruel superstition of Christians and Muslims and Jews to exist. I don't want to be imposed this strict idea of morality that does not adapt to new times and to go to hell for eternity for it. I don't want that the reality to exist. And my will, I follow my will. And I simply don't want it to be like that. I don't know why would people want that. I mean, people see those rules written in the Bible and written in the Quran, and they interpret them their own way. They see them as justice because they interpret it in the justice that they desire. But if you look at all the different Muslim sects, all the different ways of being a Christian, the different ways of being a Jew, they're different. And that just proves my point about people wanting their specific justice to be the real justice. Imagine this, if only one of those justices is the real one, then only one specific very, very, very special sect of Christians or Muslims or Jews or whatever religion, only that one is the correct one, and all the others are wrong. And all the others are just going to hell like that.
Yeah,
It's something very frightening.
And moreover, on that point is that a lot of religious people always compare iPhones. Oh, iPhone has a designer, it has a creator. But when you create an
Just
iPhone,
like the watch.
when you create an iPhone or design an iPhone, you can actually kind of decide what you want that phone to do, right?
Yeah.
So if there is a creator and God created us, for example, He created me, why did He not create me to follow His way and what He believes in and what He thinks is the right way? Why did He create me in a way where
It's the
where I'm
new
not
character,
following it?
man. What's that? It's the crown. It's a crown I made out of Everfoam. Like I put some coat hangers inside of it. I bent them and I made out of them the shape. And then I put Everfoam.
Yeah, but
and I
that,
fit
you
it
didn't
inside.
make it. It was God who made it.
No. Sorry, God, but I made this. I'm not giving you ownership of this.
You're just a small designer. He's head of.
I
head
might
of
give
engineering.
ownership of it to another person, though, if you buy it.
Yeah, but
Just
no,
kidding.
my position is agnostic. I've had debates with so many religious people, like here, outside the park, with
Yeah, yeah.
scholars. They can't give you. They go mumble and jumble. That's all they do. They go into these arguments, but they confuse people. But if you really keep it simple, if you go by the logic that they believe that everything has a creator, you know, there's a design for every. Okay,
Except God.
Except God. But how did God came to be? But they can't explain it.
Of course not.
You know. These
They have
guys-
the same limits as people who believe in science, for example.
Yeah.
They have the same limits. It's just that they think they don't have the same limits.
If you, what I believe is, right? Here's what I believe in. Strong people who have strong minds can believe things that are slightly different. So if you were born into a family that was religious and everyone followed one religion, they did the same things, you're going to do the same thing.
It's cool, it's cool.
But anyway, shake up.
Content over everything. From your
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. Listen. COE. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to Sky TV. I just listen to COE. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV. I don't even listen to Sky Man. Man, just listen to COE. Man, just listen to COE. Man, just listen to COE. If you see me, it's COE.
Yes.
COE.
Man, don't even know BBC. Man, don't even know ITV. Don't even listen to the MUM.
I need everyone's attention and then I'll stop.